Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AES and welcome to my YouTube channel. A few weeks ago, I uploaded a video that ranked my top 10 most overrated games that I have ever played. To my surprise, I did not receive much pushback from that video, so I definitely appreciated it from anyone who watched it. Anyway, I figured that it would only be appropriate to now flip the coin and discuss some video games that, in my opinion, are severely underrated. It could be because a lot of people are not aware that they exist, or it could also be due to critic and user scores that are too low as far as I'm concerned. As always, this list will be completely subjective. If you disagree with any of the picks, let me know in the comment section below. Lastly, I must mention that the game at number 15 is not necessarily worse than the title at the number 4 spot. It only means that number 15 is less underrated than number 4. Without further ado, let us rank my top 15 most underrated games as of the recording of this video. Number 15, Before Your Eyes. When the name Skybound is brought up in the game community, 99% of the time the discussion is steered towards their awesome gesture of wrapping up Clementine's story in the final season of The Walking Dead. This year, however, the company published a title called Before Your Eyes, and it is a shame that not a lot of people are talking about it due to its unique method of storytelling delivery. If you're a veteran of my channel, you already know about it. If not, no worries. The gameplay aspect in question is the ability to physically blink via web camera to move the plot along to its conclusion. This mechanic can be turned off if it's bothersome, but it is important to acknowledge the purpose behind it. That goal is as follows: remember to make the most out of your lives before you blink and it disappears. It is a surreal idea, yet it is no less true. Number 14, Gears Tactics. The Gears of War franchise is primarily known as a third-person, multiplayer-centric series that also includes an intriguing narrative. Gears Tactics attempted to change the formula and exists in the same universe as the one that contains Marcus, Dom, JD, and Kate. With that being said, it is not a third-person shooter. Instead, it is a turn-based strategy video game in the same vein as XCOM Enemy Unknown. It is not only an incredible game in its own right, but it is better than 4 main titles in the franchise: Gears of War 1, Gears of War 3, Gears of War 4, and Gears of War Judgment. A title that ventures away from a maintained formula does not mean it's bad. In fact, Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, which is not an open world game like Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Origins, is my third favorite game in that franchise. Keep that rule in mind, and you may discover some hidden gems like Gears Tactics. Number 13, The Pedestrian. Prior to the release of Resident Evil Village, The Pedestrian was my game of the year from 2021. Why? It is rather simple. The game is incredibly unique. A puzzle title that uses the small figure that you see at some street stoplights. This title requires you to use environmental clues to reach the end of the provided levels while gaining new abilities along the way. The majority of the experience warrants a placement on this list, but it is the ending that gave it the crown as my favorite game of 2021 up until mid-May. I would not spoil it, but it will absolutely blow your mind when you play through the last 20 minutes or so of The Pedestrian. Do you have any interest in the puzzle genre? Good. Pick up this game. Thank me later. Number 12, Knockout League. The only virtual reality game on this list, Knockout League is both an excellent way to burn some calories, as well as what I would consider to be the spiritual successor to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! The character designs are cartoony and distinguishable from one another. The sync between the movements of the PlayStation Move controllers and what happens on screen is consistent, and there's a great progression with the title's difficulty, since you will learn more gameplay mechanics as you beat the various opponents. The most well-known must-play PSVR games include Beat Saber, Super Hot VR, and Resident Evil 7. Knockout League should be a part of that all-star lineup. Number 11, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I will admit that it took me a very long time to check out 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. How come? It is because the first time that I heard about it was when the nominations for the best narratives at last year's Game Awards were announced. The title was not advertised anywhere, neither on TV nor online via websites such as IGN and GameSpot. Since the game story is the most important aspect in my opinion, I decided to play 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and although it took a certain type of adjustment, I can confirm that it deserved a spot on the aforementioned category of the Game Awards. The characters are wonderfully written and voice acted, the presentation is stellar, and the inclusion of this top-down strategy-like fights against the kaiju serve as nice breaks from all the dialogue that you will read throughout the game. As long as you take your time to fully interact with a given character before jumping to the next protagonist, you will most likely be engrossed in one of my favorite narratives of 2020 in a truly underrated game. Number 10, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. If you ask someone to name a game by Joseph Fares, the director of Hazelight Studios, chances are that you will get one of two answers: A Way Out and It Takes Two. Prior to those titles though, Joseph led the charge in creating an emotional, self-contained cooperative experience called Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Unlike A Way Out and It Takes Two, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is quote-unquote self-contained in the sense that it does not actually have local multiplayer or an online co-op mode. Instead, you will use one controller to move both characters, one analog stick for one of the siblings and another analog stick for the second sibling. It is a very interesting way to convey a relationship between two individuals, and you will absolutely feel its impact by the game's conclusion. The one-of-a-kind control scheme may be a minuscule reason to spend money on a video game, but it contributes to an experience that you have never experienced, unless you played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, of course. Number 9, West of Dead. Imagine a roguelike experience with the gameplay of Ghost Rider and a protagonist that is voiced by Ron Perlman, the actor behind the good Hellblade films. Does it appeal to you? Well, you may want to give West of Dead a try. Its presentation falls somewhere between feeling retro and modern, and its gameplay basically resembles any other roguelike video game. If you have never played this genre, think about the following scenario. You fight monsters, upgrade your character, you die, and you must start from the very beginning, with little to no preservation of your updated statistics. It is not for everyone, and you personally may feel discouraged from experimenting with it. With that being said, West of Dead will be a great introduction for the folks who want to dip their toes into a type of game that requires skill, dedication, and some degree of luck. Number 8, Child of Light. Artistically, Child of Light can hold its own against third-party and first-party titles in addition to other games from the indie-based community. Everything from the character designs to the environments to the attack animations, and certainly the soundtrack, is unmatched by most video games out there. Nevertheless, a game needs some type of controller interaction. Otherwise, you may just as well watch a movie. In terms of the gameplay, it is great as well. The turn-based time-specific battle system to older classic titles such as Final Fantasy VII and the Metroidvania style of exploration is rewarding and not confusing in this case. You will never get lost in your journey to save the innocent creatures of the land, and you will gain companions, skills, and abilities along the way. Child of Light is one of the picks on this list that received a 10 out of 10 from me, and there are very good and justifiable reasons for said score. Number 7, Spec Ops: The Line. Only a handful of third-person shooters incorporate as thoughtful and challenging of a narrative as the plot in Spec Ops: The Line. The initial impressions showcase the title as a been there, done that scenario. You're a leader of a squad, and you need to find another squad that has gone missing. The more you dive deep into the mystery of the soldiers' whereabouts, the more you will realize that you may have not played anything like Spec Ops: The Line. Putting the use of environmental hazards to the side, the story is undoubtedly the centerpiece of any given playthrough. It is packed with moments that will make you question your own decisions, as well as what is and what isn't real. The gameplay may not do anything mind-blowing, but the plot here will probably blow your mind. Number 6, John Wick Hex. A title that is based on John Wick? Sign me up. Now, most of us know that movies based on video games, Assassin's Creed for example, or games that are based on films, Spider-Man 3 for example, do not always turn out well. Thankfully, John Wick Hex is an exception to the rule. It is not an action-adventure game or a third-person shooting title. Rather, it is a strategy experience where you must abide by the level's objectives to reach its end. You may have to kill everyone, or simply get to the other side of the stage. What is cool about John Wick Hex's gameplay is how the enemies move and stop concurrently with John himself. It leads to more careful planning since your foes do not have predictable patterns when they are alerted to your presence. There is a difficulty spike towards the end that is a bit over the top, but my time with John Wick Hex was enough evidence for me to place this title on the list. Number 5, Fury. A game that a certain Twitch streamer absolutely adores. Fury is one of those games that pits you against a gauntlet of bosses while delivering a narrative that sits on the sideline. You appear to be a prisoner at the beginning of the game, and you travel from place to place without realizing your destination until the very end. Throughout your adventure though, you come across individuals who challenge you, and these fights are engaging, unique, and fast. One encounter will have you avoid large laser beams akin to Goku's Kamehameha, while another bout will be illustrated like a one-on-one standoff that you would normally see while playing Ghost of Tsushima. Fury is not for the impatient, but a degree of dedication will allow you to sigh in relief once you accomplish the task of beating this underrated game. Number 4. Dante's Inferno. Yes, Dante's Inferno is a God of War copycat. However, I will go ahead and say that it is worth a playthrough. Let me explain myself. It tells the story of Dante's Inferno by Dante Alighieri, where a man travels to hell to save the love of his life, Beatrice. As you know, the underworld is a messed up location, which is terrifyingly reflected in the game through creepy designs for the fictional creatures. The combat system pays homage to one of Sony's exclusive characters, but it still offers a ton of flexibility with combos, improved statistics, and magic-based attacks. There are also executions to base enemies in boss fights, but they're not nearly as flashy as titles such as Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance or Mortal Kombat 11. Nonetheless, every moment with Dante's Inferno did not feel wasted, and I will give my seal of approval to this game. The ending hints at a sequel, but I have no idea how they can follow up to pick on this list, since there are not many opportunities for action sequences in Purgatory or especially Paradise. Number 3. Oxenfree. When I watch top 10 videos involving great video game narratives, I do not see much representation from Oxenfree. I do not blame them, since it took me quite some time to discover this tale about a group of friends who venture off to an apparently populated island and have a nice time. Even though there are more unknown games that are fantastic and do not receive the light of day at all, as you will find out with the number 2 spot on this list, Oxenfree should be experienced by everyone who is interested in a mysterious tale. The characters are lovable, the visuals are a cool mixture of 2D and 3D graphics, and there are multiple endings that will vary based on the decisions that you will make in the title's plot. If Oxenfree has reinforced any of my opinions, it will be the one that says the following: go out of your comfort zone with gaming, and you may find a game of which many people are not aware, but now you have the opportunity to expose its greatness to other people. Number 2. Evoland. Evoland is an ingenious love letter to fans of role-playing video games. It is also one of the most creative titles that I have ever played. The PlayStation 4 version comes with Evoland 1 and 2, which is why I'm putting this iteration on this list. Evoland is practically a tech demo, but it is amazing nonetheless. When you start it, you're only able to move left and right, and the visuals display the catalog of the original Game Boy. As you continue, you unlock more and more abilities, such as 3-dimensional movements, a sword with which you attack your foes, and a complete graphical transition from the original Game Boy to the PlayStation 1. It is unbelievable. Evoland 2 incorporates the same mechanic, but it is a more fleshed out role-playing game with a solid narrative. Who is Evoland for? Well, obviously for role-playing enthusiasts. However, I would also recommend it to people who have never played a title in the genre and want to really dive into its ins and outs. Number 1. To the Moon. As far as stories are concerned, To the Moon is a masterpiece. We live in a life that is finite, and it is essential that we make every moment count. With that being said, we are humans after all, and we make mistakes. Some are more regrettable than others. As such, we can only wish for the real-life counterparts of Dr. Watts and Dr. Rosaline, who have honed the skill of granting a dying person's wish by changing certain portions of his or her past. The lack of voice acting does not hinder the power of every single moment, and by the time you reach the ending, I'll be concerned if you do not feel anything, let alone not shed a tear. I have heard from multiple YouTube personas about To the Moon, but I did not know how much I would enjoy it until I checked it out. It is my 19th favorite video game of all time, my second favorite story in gaming, and the most underrated game I have ever played. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. Which games would you consider to be underrated? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.